Welcome back to the Balanced Hairstylist podcast, where mental health and the beauty industry meet. I am Sarah Beck. I'm really glad that you're here with me today because we're going to have a conversation about what it means to be a space holder when the world feels heavy. Recent events have deeply disturbed me, and I know that many of you are feeling that too. And it brought up an important thing that I want to remind everyone that we are hairstylists and beauty professionals, and we are not therapists. So I want to talk today about an important topic about when the world feels heavy, how we take care of our own mental health and are aware of our own emotional capacity. As hairstylists, we have an incredibly intimate role with our clients. People feel safe with us and they talk and they process. And while we love this and while we love to create safe spaces, we often unintentionally become emotional containers. And we are not therapists. Even therapists have limits around how much they can hold in one day. When something heavy happens in the world, like recent events, and we're already personally impacted, having the same conversation, often distressing conversation, over and over again can really take a toll. When we talk about upsetting events repeatedly, our nervous system doesn't necessarily experience it just as a conversation. Each conversation and retelling can reactivate our body's stress response. It will signal to our brain that there is a potential threat or there's potential danger, and that will keep us stuck in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn all day long. So our bodies don't fully distinguish about something that's happening right now, these conversations, and something that is being emotionally recalled, how we felt when we first experienced these events. So instead of settling, our nervous system stays on all day. And when that happens, it just ramps up and up and up with each conversation. And by the end of our day, our nervous systems are fried. So when we're having the same conversation again, not only is it bringing up our own feelings, but then we're processing our client's feelings about it as well. Even if we agree, even if we're on the same page, it can elevate our nervous systems when we're absorbing the emotional weight of others. It's vicarious emotional strain. So when we're hearing multiple intense reactions that our clients have, whether it's fear, anger, grief, or sadness, all of these feelings, all of these emotions can stack up in our system. And at the end of the day, at the end of the week, over time, this can look like emotional depletion. We can start to feel numbness and certainly compassion fatigue. And I want to be really clear here. That does not mean that we lack empathy. On the other hand, I feel like most of us as hairstylists and beauty professionals, we are feelers. And compassion fatigue happens because we care deeply. But when the nervous system becomes overwhelmed like this, it starts to pull back as a form of self protection, not indifference. Have you ever taken in so much news that you see something really upsetting and disturbing, but you kind of don't even feel anything about it? That is because our nervous systems can't take on that much. When we process something once, twice, maybe three times in a chosen supportive space with chosen people, that can be really helpful. But when we process things all day, one specific topic all day with multiple people, while trying to stay present and creative and professional, that's different. It's an incredibly taxing combination to be able to try to hold space while we're trying to be able to do our jobs. We're already multitasking so much in our jobs. Foiling, what formula are we going to use? When am I going to reschedule this client? There's so many things that we're multitasking while we're still trying to hold space for people. That combination is incredibly taxing. There is very little room for our bodies to settle, to integrate, or release. My friend that's a therapist will always tell me, I don't know how you do what you do because sometimes when I'm listening to people, that's hard enough in itself. But you listen to people while you're working at the same time, while you're being creative, while you're creating a masterpiece on someone's head that they're going to wear. So we need to acknowledge that what we do is really difficult. And so, if we don't have emotional capacity to have these conversations, that is okay. It doesn't mean that we don't care. And I do want to be clear about this. Choosing to not talk about something at work does not mean that we don't care, that we're not upset, that we're not paying attention, that we're not taking action. It simply means that we're choosing where and how we process this. And I want to add to this because I think it's important that we are doing the work outside of work, that we are processing and we are taking action, whether it's supporting an organization or donating or showing up locally, whatever that means to you. And so when these conversations come up, we can say, I'm doing my own work outside of this, and I can't have conversations at work right now about this. So, what does this mean for us if we're working behind the chair and our clients are expecting us to have these conversations? Well, that's tricky, right? So, what does it look like to be aware of our own emotional capacity and mental health around this during our conversations with clients? Well, everyone has different capacity. And so, this is something that you have to decide for yourself. Maybe we are meditating before work, we're coming in early, we're getting really grounded, and we feel okay to have these conversations. And maybe the first client, it feels okay. And the second client, it feels okay. But by the third or fourth client, you're just mentally drained. You're emotionally exhausted. That's okay. It's okay to be able to talk about it with one client and not the other. So you get to set your own parameters and your own boundaries around these conversations. I really recommend if we have time in our schedule to take a moment between each client to really kind of reset and reground, asking ourselves, do I need to release anything from that appointment? How do I feel coming into this next appointment? Is it something that I'm not willing to discuss at this time? Some things that you can say is, this has really impacted me. And for my own mental well being, I'm really not able to talk about it while I'm working. Something else you can say, I care deeply about this and I'm processing this outside of work, which is why I'd like the conversation to shift around something else. Another option is to just redirect the conversation. Something I like to do is have what's called a question of the day. And you can just have a stack of post it notes or something in your station and you write something down, something like, what's inspiring you right now? What does self care look like for you? Tell me something that you're devouring right now, a podcast, a book, a movie, a TV show. Something like that can help redirect the conversation. So just by saying a couple of things like that, you can really be able to shift the conversation and you don't owe a long explanation. You're naming your capacity and you're not dismissing this topic. And then something else that I wanted to mention is if you do have emotional capacity and you do want to share with your clients, something great to do is to print out resources, have local organizations where people can volunteer, where people can donate. And so then when it's brought up, you can say, yes, I care deeply about this. Here are the things that I have printed out for you if you do ever want to get involved. The other thing that is great to mention here is that, again, we are not therapists. And so if the conversation becomes very heavy and you feel like a client might be needing more support, you can say to them, have you considered talking to a mental health professional about this? I always have therapist cards in my station so that when these conversations do get really heavy, you can give a resource. You can give support to your clients, but it doesn't mean that it's all on you. I think another thing to mention is how we are taking care of ourselves outside of work. Yes, we are processing, we are learning, we are figuring out how to take action, and we are taking action. But outside of that, how are we taking care of ourselves? It's a lot to hold space for people in general on a daily basis, but on top of all of the current events happening, it can feel like a lot for us. And so I see you and I know that this can be difficult. And I know that a lot of times we carry a lot of weight. I hope this conversation helps you feel less alone, holding space for people in the world right now. And I hope that you know that you get to take care of your own mental health in the way that is best for you. It's okay to know our own limitations. We are not selfish by protecting ourselves and our nervous systems. We're not failing anyone by choosing not to hold all of it. We can care deeply about what's going on and take care of ourselves at the same time. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with another hairstylist who might need permission to protect their own emotional capacity today. Thank you for being here. I want this to feel like a safe space for us because we're often the therapists or harapists for others. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time. Before we wrap up, a couple of reminders. First, please join the free community at thebalancedhairstylist.com. Our community there is a safe space for us as beauty professionals to feel support, to feel heard, to feel listened to. I really encourage you in times like these to get on there. Say how you're feeling. Someone will lift you up, I guarantee it. And then another friendly reminder, I am not a licensed therapist. I am just your fellow hairstylist, sharing tools and stories and encouragement to help us all feel a little more balanced behind the chair. Think of this podcast as an inspiration and not a replacement for professional care. If you're struggling, please reach out to a mental health professional. You deserve real support. All right, friends, thank you so much. And my heart is with you in this time. I'll see you next time.